Okay, thank you very much. Since the NDPR in 2019, there's been a few, a few advancements in data privacy in Nigeria, but the Act in 2023 made it solidified the entire process. Now the NDPC is going all out to enforce the Act because that is their primary responsibility. And as data subjects, as consumers, we have an obligation to know what our rights are as data subjects so that we can demand better from data controllers. Because it's very important to note that these data controllers do with our data what they what they please. But the laws have come to play to actually regulate how they deal with our data. And we also have to support the law by ensuring and keeping the data controllers on their toes and demanding adequate service and adequate data protection on the data that we are providing to them. For instance, you can't just say, give me your name. I have to know why you are collecting my name. There has to be a purpose to which this data is being received. So in all of this, knowing that I can ask this question, we also put data controller on edge, and they make sure that their employees and those that are working for them are also very, very conversant with the dictates of data privacy regulations in Nigeria. So on the consumer end, we have a duty to know and a duty to demand from data controllers what they need to do in our current society. I'll give an example. There was a lady on X recently, that's formerly Twitter, that said that someone called her and saw a passport form as at the Suya joint. They used their passport, those phones used to fill passports to sell Suya to her. A name, a phone number, an email address, a date of birth, everything that has to do with her is in that form. The person called her to inform her. For some other person might have used it to blackmail her. They might have used that identity to try to hack our accounts. They might have used that identity to even try to create what is not for what is a danger to our rights and freedoms, our freedom as a person. Unauthorized access to our personal data is one. It could, in fact, there are many places that data could have gotten to that will have caused harm to us. We could have the dark web, say to dark web. They could clone a phone number. She could get unauthorized messages on her WhatsApp number because of the phone number. Her emails could be blocked. Also, that is one aspect. Another aspect, data controllers sometimes may even sell your data to make money. I mean, that is why NDPC and FCCPC find a particular agency the other day. They make money off unauthorized use of your personal data. And data breaches, all the generation, it actually poses a lot of threats to me. We're in the digital world. And I developed a stalker the other day and say, oh, this person looks fine on her passport. This is her phone number. This is her email address. The person starts telling you, has your entire profile with them. So the risk to the data subject is more than just unauthorized access. It goes into the security of the person whose data is being compromised. It goes into the livelihood of that person could lose life or livelihood. So it poses a lot of danger and a lot of threats to data subjects themselves. They are literally at risk when there is a breach of data. Yes, there are many awareness sessions going on. Law firms offer awareness session, businesses offer to their third parties. Even the NDPC created a portal that sells a 15,000 naira course now. And anybody that wants to know about data privacy can easily buy that course and learn. If you go to YouTube, there are several materials on data protection, that even Nigerian data protection on YouTube, that you can learn from. And for businesses, by law, you are mandated to have a data protection officer. That DPO is supposed to enlighten you, help your organization to develop a data privacy policy and strategy for your organization. In Nigeria, we have something called DPC, that's Data Protection Compliance Organization. They also help organizations and train organizations on the data privacy practices. So from the organizational point of view, there are many ways that they could learn. They could learn through their third-party agents, they could learn through their own internal DPOs, they could learn through their own DPCs, and they could learn on their own by reading and consuming enough literature on the internet. Thank you very much. The issue of cross-border transfer of data is an evolving one because the world is interconnected. We cannot deny that the world is interconnected. Text messages now go as far as United States, Australia, just text, even without WhatsApp or any of those Telegram applications. So by Nigerian law, NDPC has said that cross-border transfer of data is prohibited. However, there are exceptions to it. So for organizations, what you need to do is take advantage of these exceptions. And I will list them. One of those exceptions is that the data subjects themselves are consented to the transfer of their data, which is why in some organizations, in their privacy policy and privacy statements, they let you know that they are multinationals and that they will transfer your data out of Nigeria. And if you consent, you see that I consent in their product. And once you consent to it, they are taking it as that you have read it and you have agreed that they will deal with your data as necessary. Sometimes you have to fulfill a contractual obligation. Imagine having a contract and it's a multinational contract. You have to be able to fulfill by transferring data in and out of the country. That's another one. Also, there are adequacy decisions that could be made by the Commission. Prior to now, we had the white list that NITDA gave us in 2020 for the white list is no longer very valid anymore. So the Commission also said you can also have binding corporate rules in organizations. For instance, company A has branches in 12 different countries. There's something we call binding corporate rules. These binding corporate rules are the state the data privacy practices of that organization as a group, how it applies to each organization, each of the entities in different countries, how data can be transmitted, the measures put in place to ensure that data transferred and transmitted is secure and actually not is secure. There's no breach that will occur on that data. And Nigeria, NDPC has said that if you want to transfer data out of Nigeria, carry out a data privacy impact assessment. Look at where you are going, where you're transferring data to. Do they have enough data security measures to guard the data of the person you're sending? Do they have adequate remediation for these data subjects in case their data gets breached in that country? We need to be able to look at these things and understand that the person that we are sending data of people to these countries, do they have adequate safeguards? Are they compliant with data protection laws? Imagine sending your data to a country that has a data protection law, that has no regulation, no comfort, even their courts are not functional. There's a way you don't know that you're not going to get anything. You will not get any form of remediation if your data is breached in those countries. But in the case where there's binding corporate rule now, the organization that is collecting your data already has a responsibility. So those rules are like rules that make sure that the organization that is sending data out are, are, are bound by them and have to keep your data safe. Now, when you conduct a privacy impact assessment, you should also inform the commission, the NDPC, that you are carrying out cross-border transfer of data. They have guidelines that they will give. They will set you up on guidelines. You have a DPCO too that can guide you in all of this. So in Nigeria now, if you have to transfer data out of Nigeria, the first thing I will advise you is to have a binding corporate rule. Have them internally, binding corporate rules. Liaise with your DPC, as Data Protection Compliance Organization. Then conduct a data privacy impact assessment, and of course, seek direction from the NDPC. These will help you to save you a lot of stress, because seeking advice from the NDPC means that you are working in their direction, and whatever you do, it is at their BS and in compliance with the laid down rules in Nigeria. So these are, methods and ways which you can safely transfer data out of Nigeria, bearing in mind the security of the data that is being transferred and regulatory compliance with the laws existing in Nigeria. The first thing is that organizations need to make their privacy policy as simple as possible. In fact, it's advised that it doesn't have to be bogus. In fact, NDPC laid down what the things that should be contained in your privacy policy. Once you have those things there, you don't need to have 30-page document. It should be simple and separate from your terms of use. When you have terms of use, everything needs to be that. So once you have your, let's say you have your terms of use now, because if you have many documents on your page, people will get discouraged from reading it. It's just people will get discouraged. Once you say, these are private policy, read our privacy policy here, know that privacy statement, and people click it to read it. Once they read that privacy policy that also has your terms, most people put it with their terms of use to avoid lots of documentation. They should be able to glean from the first page, second page of the document that this is what this policy is about. Now, on the users, you have a duty to read what you are agreeing to. You cannot sign a contract and come back and say, no, the details of the contract are not valid because you didn't read it. I mean, you've agreed that you read it. So the person is assuming that you have read it, and they are depending on your reading of that document, to do what they are doing. So it's a two-way situation. The organization has to make their data privacy policy as simple as possible, and the users also should read the policies, no matter how tedious they may find it. It's a double-way approach. Actually, private companies have not taken lightly to it, because I've gone for several awareness sessions and they're like, it's only us that they are targeting. They're not targeting government agencies. Why are they not holding immigration? Why are they not holding JAMB? People give examples of things that happened to them and how the NDPC is not holding government agencies accountable. I can say that generally, when it comes to government agencies, enforcement on them is not as straightforward as it is on private entities. Even to enforce a court judgment on public sector agencies is not as smooth as that. What the NDPC has now done is to meet heads of these agencies to collaborate and have trainings with them. Because enforcing is a longer route and it's going to take a lot of time with almost little or no fruit. So what they will do is they are taking the preemptive measure. They are meeting heads of immigration, heads of these agencies to have sessions with them on data privacy. But recently, I think in May, there was a joint session with the Immigration Service on how to manage personal data that they are collecting. And in fact, when it comes to filing of audits, they are now getting more. And when it started, they were just like 2%. Now they are more than 10 to 20% of them filing audits and you're doing things right. So it's still a long road, I must confess. It is a very long road, but the NDPC is trying hard to actually ensure that government agencies are brought into the fold and they actually comply with this because they are the major processors of data in Nigeria. In fact, I'll take us back to 2019, in 2020, when they formed the NPIG, that's the NDPR Guidelines of Public Institutions. There was a specific guide for public institutions then that they were supposed to follow and move with so that they were going to comply. The Secretary of State then, Boss Mustafa, even wrote to them to comply by force and by fire. But it has yielded not so much fruit. But we're from point zero. We are now getting a little bit there. There's more awareness, there's more training. They are also getting, because now I think the best way to get to Nigeria is that it also affect them. That if you too are doing it here, somebody else will do it to you. They are more receptive towards it. So the NDPC is taking a proactive step with them by actually doing more of awareness, more of trainings, and actual enforcement on them. So that's where the dichotomy is between public and private sector in Nigeria. I think for one, it's good for the data subjects. It actually shows that we can trust the system and take up their data privacy challenges with their data controllers. Two, it shows that the ecosystem is ready and it is moving forward in the right direction, which is what, and because Nigeria is trying to, Nigeria is positioning itself as the African leader for data privacy and data privacy related matters, because recently NBC hosted NAPDA, that's African Data Privacy Organ. So Nigeria is positioning itself in that space as the leader of data privacy enforcement regulation in Africa. So taking those bold steps by, taking those bold steps instills a bit of confidence in the regulator. However, I'm hoping that they will be able to balance this thing because Nigeria is still a growing economy. We are a growing nation. And as much as it is statutory to find them certain amount of money, we need to be able to balance this thing with the way our ecosystem looks. Because at the end of the day, if we go through the route of finding everybody, there might be a little bit of scare among the companies. So we need to find a balance between making sure they remediate the problems that we have found that they have and, having to negotiate some of these fines. I know that one of the agencies, the one that was fined by the FCPC, is trying to renegotiate the fine because they see it as very steep and they are hoping that the regulators will come to an agreement with them on how they can, remediate the fine and all that. So for me, I think it's a step in the right direction. And I also think that the NDPC, of course, should be able to listen to the pleas of these agencies and let us find a proper way forward. Because what we are looking for really is compliance with regulations. What we are looking for is for them having confidence in the system, both data controllers and data subjects, having confidence in the system that this system works. So we need to find not just monetary fine now, but a lot of other ways to instill that discipline into the ecosystem. That has helped a lot of companies remediate their process that we didn't even hear about that are internal. Some of them are little investigations. The companies submitted themselves for audit. remediation, and the commission, has helped them to be on the right path. In fact, sometimes we refer to some countries that this company, we helped them remediate properly and do well. So it is very important that this particular ecosystem that we are building is one that has confidence. And I can say that data subjects are very, in fact, from the reactions on social media about this enforcement, data subjects are happy. Practitioners are also happy that the government and the agencies are taking them seriously. But the data controllers too, they have a role to play, and they should also meet the regulator halfway by ensuring that they do what is right and it doesn't lead to the area of fines all the time. No, I just think everybody should know their rights. Everybody should take data privacy seriously. Both company, individual, everybody should take it. Even government should take it seriously because it is something that is very important to you. Data is you. You are your data. So please take data privacy seriously. Know your rights. Understand what data subjects access request rights are, and make sure that you hold your data controllers accountable for the rights that they ought to provide to you. And of course, data controllers too, be open in your data privacy activities. Seek help with the regulator if you don't know how to go about it. And we'll all be a good ecosystem.